Hello, I'm Lucy.
And I'm David.
Welcome to Tudoriferous, the biographical podcast that examines lives in the Tudor era.
And today, the Pontifacts Tudoriferous crossover spectacular. AKA, if you thought that Brie was enthusiastic about non-Renaissance popes, so, and have already given it away, this is another guest episode, and this is a very special one. We have on today the wonderful hosts of the Pontifacts podcast, ranking all the popes from Peter to Leo XIV. Bry and Fry, welcome.
Hello, thank you for having us.
Hello. Thank you for coming.
Yes, it's brilliant.
We're always amazed when people want to come on this podcast.
Yes.
I'm sorry, you said the word Renaissance popes and I was here.
So we're aware that this is actually for people who are, like ourselves, who are sort of long-time listeners of Pontifacts, this is entering into, if this can be for history, spoiler territory. Since you're still a few hundred years earlier currently. But
we're way back.
But no, I mean you're getting well, I think where you've released at the moment, you're getting to the end of the first wave of the investiture controversy, and that will never be a problem again.
Never. It's over. Done.
So for people who and goodness knows who for people who may not know, can you tell us a little moment about the Pontifacts podcast?
Well, sure. We are Pontifacts, a papal history podcast ranking all of the popes from Peter to Leo XIV. And in every episode, we examine a single pope in chronological order. We contextualize their lives. We contextualize their papacy within world history and in the growing dynamics of the church. And then we rate them based on many, many serious categories like how important their prestige and power was, how scandalous they are, and what their face looks like.
Yeah.
Very nice. Yes. And like us, you really do rate most episodes. So every now and then we remember, oh yes, we're supposed to do rating.
Yes. And from time to time we actually give them Tudorlicious, but sort of once a year it seems to be now.
Well, I mean, that's a good ratio. Then you won't have too many when you get to an eventual final.
No, that's what we're thinking. We're thinking, we'll be able to knock it out in a couple of days then.
Sometimes we fight over the papal bull, and we do have to use the divine intervention dice. So
I've got a groat to toss if we do come. We don't agree.
I love that. But I think it's gentler to have a pass-fail, whereas we can get all the way to just sending them straight to hell if they roll a critical one, which often feels very unfair.
Oh, it does.
That was so mean. We were very mean.
So, because, this is about the popes that we have covered, I say we as if I've been in this the whole time, that Tudoriferous has covered, and I popped in for the last couple.
Yeah, who are you?
That is, in chronological order, Pope Sixtus IV, Pope Innocent VIII, Pope Alexander VI, Pope Pius III, and Pope Julius II. We are leaving the Medici popes until next series with Henry VIII. So I know that Sixtus IV technically predates, but also, I mean, we had to talk about him.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about him so often with the Patsy conspiracy and, well, as soon as you get into the Medici, you can't leave Sixtus alone. So, and we're not that fussed about sticking to the rules of this thing. So, yeah, we stuck him on as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was interesting because he started off so nice. Before he became Pope, he seemed so nice. Oh, you don't look as if you agree.
Well, we'll definitely have that to talk about. So.
I thought it was when he became Pope. He went mad. I mean, I think it was it the influence of the nephews, do you think?
There were a lot. Is that where we want to start?
Yeah,
okay.
Let's start.
Yeah, let's start with the nephews.
Let's start with the nephews because I generally think that Sixtus needs to stand in his own right here with his own deeds, because sure, he may have started life as a not so humble Franciscan who didn't seem to have much political ambition. And he initially does seem to be like more focused on piety and theology, but once this man was pope, there's no denying that he becomes a man of ambition. He kind of pulls what I like to call a reverse Thomas Becket here, where instead of, he goes from, instead of going from practical leader to like high-minded theologian, he goes from high-minded theologian to practical leader. He is determined, as soon as he is pope, to leave a legacy. And I think it's really easy to try and absolve him of some blame because of how he presents in early life, but he absolutely wants to make his mark, right? Surely the nephews absolutely exacerbated this and expanded the reach of his ambition and his desire for control. But I don't want to let Sixtus off the hook so easily for a number of reasons. Also, I have to say, Fry's not going to be happy when we get to Sixtus because we will be playing the "Are they related or are they lovers" game again.
Yes, we touched on that one.
And I do say again because unfortunately that's not the first time we have to do that with the papacy. But
we've done it before.
Yeah, absolutely. But I do think we have to look at Sixtus and his ambition both in cynical and not cynical ways, right? Because we obviously have wonderful things like the Sistine Chapel, which again bears his name, ambition and legacy. We have the expansion of the Vatican Library started by Nicholas V, and also like nice things, committing to improving Roman infrastructure. And we also have a crusade. And then we also have an excess of wealth and power in all of the positions that his nephews are in, all these advantageous marriages, and of course, the Pazzi conspiracy, leveled at obtaining even more control in Italy. So it just gets worse as you go, and all of this screams and reeks personal ambition.
Well, with the Pazzi one, he was very reluctant.
Was
he? He was saying, I think he was saying, all right, do it, but don't tell me. And they were saying, yeah, but we need you to tell us to do it. We need your backing. And eventually he said, well, all right, but pretend you haven't told me.
Yeah, I think this is more of a don't put my name on the email, but go ahead and do it, because he absolutely should be.
He wasn't backward in coming forward, really, with this. No.
Reminds me a bit of that Elizabeth I thing of, oh, no, you can't kill my cousin. You absolutely can't execute Mary, Queen of Scots. Here's the death warrant. No, I definitely... Oh, I didn't mean to sign that. Oh, no, you've taken it out of my hands.
I think Sixtus is guiltier than even that, really. Like, his resentments against the Medici were already well and established at this point. We know how things fall out over Imola. We know that he's already ripped away the papal accounts from the Medici Bank to give to the Pazzi, of all people, right? Oh, I can't condone killing because I'm the Pope is a very easy, like, get out of jail free card to play. The only words that come to mind when it comes to Sixtus and the Pazzi conspiracy is murderer.
Yeah.
Guilty,
and also,
guilty.
when the person he's talking to is Girolamo Riario, and he, Sixtus must have known what he was like. He must have known he was going to go straight out and kill him. I mean, he's not talking to a nice or even possibly sane person. So he knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
Fry is going to hate Riario so much when we get there.
Well, I think everybody hates Riario. I think that's acceptable.
I also think we can't completely let him off the hook again for the Pazzi conspiracy because he makes everything worse afterwards, right? You try to kill somebody. It doesn't go well. The city sides with the person you try to kill. They take their revenge and you go, no, I'm going to excommunicate you for that. I'm going to put Florence under interdict for that. You were involved. You were the guilty party. You're just mad you got caught.
Mind you, the retaliation was quite brutal.
Mm-hmm. Up to 80 people were killed because of the Pazzi conspiracy.
It swept the entire country after that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm talking about snowballing. Blimey.
Yeah. Mind you, Lorenzo the Magnificent probably didn't think that was all that many people because he then went to hang out with his mate Ferrante of Naples, to whom killing 80 people is just an afternoon.
Exactly. But it also goes to the level in which Lorenzo felt comfortable in his, not necessarily within the scope of Italy, but in Florence in particular, that he was able to go and put himself in the hands of Ferrante and be like, I'm gonna be okay, is quite telling to how poorly this conspiracy actually went and what it revealed about Florence and their adherence to the Medici.
Yeah, suddenly he knew, oh, perhaps I'm more popular than I thought I was.
Absolutely.
So, on top of, okay, so Pope Sixtus then clearly a man with personal ambition. Even so, the nephews can't have made it any better.
No, they were certainly egging this on, and they were certainly giving Sixtus an avenue of expansion of control, right? And there's no way that he comes to this role and falls into it and it's like, I am going to aggrandize my family, and that all starts going well. There's no point in which he goes, I'm going to stop doing that. This is fantastic for me. So the nephews are absolutely the eggers on. They are the gasoline on the fire. But it does come from Sixtus.
But do you think they get out of control? Do you think they get more power than he intended?
I mean, out of control in retrospect to the whole of the Renaissance papacy, it's pretty par for the course.
Yes, that's true.
Let's look at Francescetto Cibo or Cesare Borgia, right? This is sort of the way that goes.
Oh, do we have to look at those two?
Well, that was one of our questions. Who do you think is worse, Cesare Borgia or Francescetto Cibo?
I have to give it to Cesare because Francescetto was a problem. Cesare made himself everyone's problem. He's all of Italy's problem at this point. Like, Francescetto is someone you could have easily done away with because he was the problem of like being a lush and being irresponsible and running up gambling debts and needing money. He's the quintessential like bad, irresponsible sibling. Cesare is a maniac who wants to kill everybody.
Everybody, yes.
You are not safe if you are in the same room as this man.
You're not safe if you're in Italy.
Exactly. Francescetto is probably going to steal from you, but he may not murder you.
Well, actually, if you get into it, if you start gambling with Francescetto, you're going to come out very well because he wasn't very good at it, was he? But was it somebody? Was it Raphael Riario managed to buy a palace on the money he'd won from Francescetto in gambling?
I mean, if it is him, that's probably the one good spot in Raffaello's life.
And he'll always be able to keep gambling because for some reason Piero de' Medici keeps paying his gambling debts.
Yes.
Piero. If you're a Medici and your name is Piero, you're in for a bad time. I mean...
So we've got Sixtus. Yeah, okay, so things have gone pretty badly. And then we haven't even touched on the Spanish Inquisition. So was this... Can we lay all of this on him, or can we lay a little bit of it on Ferdinand and Isabella and their court?
Well, unbelievably, I am going to give Sixtus a little bit of mercy here, because I do think that what he intended to support with starting the Spanish Inquisition was not what happened. And Ferdinand and Isabella go way beyond the pale. Like, Sixtus had set out a structure to be laid out for the Inquisition, but what occurred goes on far, far more brutally. And it does seem that when Sixtus was made aware of the full extent of the brutality that was happening in the Spanish Inquisition, he did condemn those excesses in a second papal bull. But I say this with the caveat that we cannot forgive him fully for a number of reasons. Like, first, the Spanish Inquisition was far from being the first Inquisition. It was being conducted elsewhere at varying levels of intensity. Also, the papal bull granting permission for the Inquisition is not a nice document. It is still a document that is rejoicing in the act of interrogating and punishing people specifically for practicing their original faiths, which they may have had to be forcibly converted out of due to what? Brutal crusades, massacres, and forced expulsions. The fact that this results in torture and executions and mass abuses of power was not going to be an out-and-out shock. And what's more, we also can't pretend that Sixtus's objections were purely like humanitarian either. Half of his complaints that made him want to withdraw support from the Inquisition were like procedural and jurisdictional. He's as mad about them being their own bosses in their brutality as he is about the brutality itself. He is incensed that the Spanish monarchs are acting without papal oversight and blocking appeals to Rome, which is, if Fry will know, appeals to Rome, massive sticking point for the popes for thousands of years. Forever. This is something that they will fight with just about every ruler about. So he's more mad about that. He's mad that they're utilizing the Inquisition as a political tool to solidify their reign rather than like purifying the faith, which is a gross sentence anyways. But he's annoyed that proper canon protocol isn't being followed and that some of these trials are being conducted in secret. So it's not, oh, you're being absolutely horrific to people. That's only half of it.
And that was you being merciful to him, was it?
Yeah. I have more. I mean, we should also be condemning him for the fact that after he condemns all of what's happening, he retracts it and backs all the way down. Right? Regardless of the practical reasons for backing down, which is Ferdinand being militarily full of pressure and threats, this does mean that even when he saw how horrific things were, he allows it to go on as it had, essentially unchecked. And Innocent VIII is going to take that further and basically give them carte blanche, but Sixtus could have stopped this, wanted to stop it, and still decided not to.
Did he decide not to? I know he died fairly soon afterwards, didn't he? You reckon he just backed down completely?
He did officially withdraw his second papal bull, so in that way he did back down and then allowed it to continue. And of course we know Innocent was not somebody who was going to... If Sixtus had not withdrawn the bull, Innocent might have been able to stand on that. But he did, so Innocent's not going to rock the boat.
No, I can't see Innocent making it more merciful at all. He was in it right up to his neck, was Innocent, wasn't he?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Should we move on to Innocent then?
Yeah.
So, incompetent?
Victim?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
One word question. Incompetent?
Incompetent or victim? Yes and yes. A bit of column A, a bit of column B. I mean, I have to give him... I listened to your episodes about it, and I know, Lucy, in your first episode on Innocent, you felt quite bad for him. And in that way, I think that, yes. But I do think that that's a reasonable position to take, because with regards specifically to Ferrante, the essence of Innocent's actions are what you would expect of a pope looking to solidify papal authority within territories that are still technically papal fiefs, right? And likely having been brought up in Ferrante's court, we can assume that Innocent knows that if he doesn't immediately take a strong stance with Ferrante, he's going to get walked all over. So he does try. Unfortunately, strong stances require strong character, and he doesn't have that. So
No, he doesn't. No.
So that's where he becomes a victim. But if he is a victim of Ferrante and Alfonso, I also think we need to acknowledge that he's a victim of Della Rovere.
Yeah.
Because, look, if Della Rovere in this time period was a bit more papacy serving and a little bit less self-serving, Innocent could have had an entirely different papacy.
And Della Rovere would have been an entirely different person.
Yeah, well. Absolutely. That we are speaking in pure hypotheticals.
Yeah, I think Della Rovere didn't make any pretense that he was putting in Innocent as the Pope purely because he knew he wasn't going to get it himself, and he thought, well, this is the next best thing.
Yes.
I'm still going to be Pope. I just won't have the name.
Yes, there's that. But he could have also then built himself a stronger foundation to do that on.
Yes.
It
Yeah, but if
seems
it had been too strong, it might have fought back.
It does seem around this period that they work out, okay, right, yes, we're going to have several corrupt families controlling the papacy, but unlike, earlier on, we can't do it all in order. We have to have at least one pope between each family, between the same family. So you had a Della Rovere, wait your turn.
Yeah. Well, the papacy has learned that from a long history of having too many of the popes of the same house at a time. The pornocracy. The Pierre Leone, the Frangipani, the mean bread, as Fry calls them.
Yes.
But I mean, it's not just that he knew Ferrante. I mean, when you spend your youth in a court of a man who mummifies his enemies and keeps heads in jars, I just think surely the psychological effect is either you become like Cesare or like Julius, absolutely kind of retreat into yourself, or you just lose any sense of self.
Or you become like Innocent VIII, who just wants to eat and sleep and do nothing else because he's like, I know how horrible the world is. Maybe this is why. Maybe Innocent just had a massive amount of like PTSD and he's like, I don't want anything to do with this. I will eat forever and sleep forever and be sick in the interim and nobody will be able to bother me.
Unfortunately, they did. They kept bothering him and saying, when are you going to sort this out? When are you going to sort that out? And you're thinking, oh, I wish I hadn't done this now.
I mean, you want to sort of critique him for not being a better student of Ferrante, right? Because you'd think you would have the experience, you would have watched and seen how to handle this man or what sort of negotiation would actually work here. But instead, it seems like he went the complete opposite way and just was like, I can't. I tried, I can't. It failed. Let me sleep.
I don't know what negotiation tactics you would use with Ferrante. I mean, he's complete loose cannon, isn't he?
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe what he learned is people who are absolutely and utterly convinced, you just say yes. You just say yes, let them get on with it. Della Rovere, fine. Borgia, fine. Kramer, go for it. It's just...
Well.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's talk about Kramer. Yes.
Yeah.
Can we forgive him for the Malleus Maleficarum fiasco?
Oh my God.
Well, as a practicing witch,
yeah,
no.
Just thinking that might be a little hitting close to home.
Definitely not. No one who was involved with anything that has to do with witchcraft investigations and trials should be forgiven.
Indeed.
But I mean, I think we do have to give some clarification here for Innocent in this to clarify for anyone who hasn't heard your special on the Malleus Maleficarum. Pope Innocent's papal bull was an approval for Heinrich Kramer to investigate and prosecute witchcraft in Germany as part of the Inquisition in 1484. Do I think any other pope at the time would have done so? Yes, right? The Inquisition is targeting anything that doesn't look like good, proper Catholicism.
Yeah, it was already in the air by the time he'd done that.
But importantly, the bull does not approve the Malleus. The Malleus wasn't written until 3 years later after Kramer had received the bull and then been forced out of his role in Germany for being a genuinely awful, horrid person. And this is a really important distinction because it is the Malleus Maleficarum that is responsible for fundamentally altering the understanding of witchcraft and folk magic in Europe in a tremendously destructive way. And this is something that, witch history is coming out here, but this is because Kramer and the Malleus imbued the concept of magic with diabolism, which is having to do with the devil. This is something that previously did not have the correlation. These were mutually exclusive things. It was magic in Europe prior to the Malleus Maleficarum was relatively benign within communities all over Europe. And it was not something that was heretical or worse. It's shifted magic from this idea of like channeling luck or warding protection or cunning folk, and this is now maleficium, right? A deeply seated evil that lays threat to souls. This is also where we get the intensely sexual connotations to witchcraft, because Kramer was clearly obsessed with the idea of having sex with the devil. Obsessed with it. And these elements of sexuality, and especially diabolism, this is the big one, is what makes the witch hunts what they come to be, and how they are repeatedly justified and reused as a method of control and subjugation and violence against predominantly, but not exclusively, women ever since. So, and while making this distinction, I do want to point out that Pope Innocent's bull granting Kramer permission to investigate, he does talk about devils and he does talk about diabolical sorcery, but that's because he's responding directly to Kramer. Right now, at this time, this was not the standard papal or church dialogue about magic. Prior to this moment, there are priests who are also cunning folk. Like, that was very common. And with Kramer being so awful in Germany, these particular investigations that he actually gets permission for, they don't really go anywhere.
No, the judge was shocked at one of them, just said, where are you going with this?
They're like,
step outside, take a cold shower, and then come back in, and we'll talk about it sensibly.
Exactly. They look at him as a brutal, overtly sexual freak. So, in that sense, Innocent isn't responsible specifically for the approval of or the proliferation of the Malleus Maleficarum that polluted all of Europe and later the New World with this idea of diabolism in witchcraft. So we can blame him for approving the investigations, but what happened later was way, way more insidious than Innocent should get credit for. And also, for the sake of fairness, Protestant leaders were just as vehement, if not worse, in the persecution of witchcraft than the Catholic Church was. So, it's all bad.
Yeah. Oh dear, that's that can sometimes be that could be a tagline to some of this stuff. Just it's all bad.
It's all bad. Yeah, I mean, like, let's look at James VI. Like, what a nightmare with his demonology. Like, that's where we see the impact between what's happening here with Kramer getting his first approval. Then we have the writing of the Malleus Maleficarum, and then we have James VI writing demonology, and that is full of this diabolism, sexual witchcraft, which did not exist in even any form of the church until that point. So it's Kramer who really should get the condemnation.
Oh, well, yes. I think we weren't saying, oh, yes, Innocent's fault. So, yeah, Kramer, fine. If anything, we seem to be getting the impression with Innocent here of he's a man who is, you know, not a strong or a good person, but he's surrounded by these people who are positively monstrous, and he just does nothing to stop them. Ever.
Yeah, that's very fair, I think.
And they're all dripping poison into his ears, and, you know... Yeah, I mean, it's not a good time to be alive at all, I don't think.
You know,
not in power.
No.
On the episode, you wondered if Innocent was an appropriate name for him. If we focus on Innocent sort of originating from, I don't know nothing, Innocent.
It sounds like he's trying to keep himself clean as opposed to being clean.
Yeah.
I think he chose the name as a smokescreen.
A lot of them do that.
Yeah.
Oh, I love when they're the opposite. Like when we had Hilarious and he was just the worst.
The buzzkill of popes.
Oh dear God, how hilarious are we? Sorry, I have to pay royalties to Rob. I do remember when Prince Harry's book Spare came out, one journalist said, "This is the most bizarre book ever written by a member of the royal family." I'm going, sorry? Demonology? Have you read Demonology?
Yeah. Demonology is I'm going to make Fry read it when we get there. So.
Oh, lovely. Homework.
Diabolical sexual witchcraft homework, Fry.
My friend Rian is going to just be so pleased.
It does feel slightly as if quite a lot of historical harm could have been solved if these various men had an archive of our own account. Just
to write fan fiction.
I mean, would anybody want to read what Kramer's putting down?
No, but he could have got it out of his system.
True.
It's
dark.
They
web
don't
AO3.
really have blogs anymore, but definitely like a 2011 style blog would be the perfect opportunity.
Yeah. Give Kramer a blog and get him away from the rest of us. He can go live in the basement of his mom's house.
At this point, he's just posting on Reddit in forums you didn't know existed.
Yeah, exactly that.
So, and this is funny because this question sort of joins this pope to the next pope, because these have both received this accolade in inverted commas. Yes. Was Innocent VIII or Alexander VI the worst pope who ever lived, as some have suggested?
No and no.
Yes.
With Innocent, I think we should call him inactive and ineffective. And while those make bad popes, there are popes that are really going to try to be the worst. I think for both Innocent and Alexander VI, we've already covered way worse popes who gave it a go. And while I don't generally tend to agree with those like pop lists on the internet, if you Google list of worst popes in history, Innocent is nowhere to be found on them, really.
Right.
Alexander shows up, Leo X shows up, but that's just because of scandal. In terms of his actual administration, right, he sucks, but he's not the worst. I feel with Innocent, I feel like there's a lot of parallels we could make to Clement VII, right? In that they get thrown into the deep end of some very impossible situations in which neither man has the fortitude of character to actually overcome. Like, differently, because Clement becomes like practically paralyzed with indecision because of truly feeling the weight of all of Christianity and all of Italy on his shoulders. He just freezes. Whereas Innocent is just too influenced by others, so he ends up in the same place, but it's because he can't make a decision or he vacillates between his decisions. Clement is just frozen. So I feel equally bad for them. They just kind of suck, but they're not the worst.
I don't know. I got a soft spot for Leo X because he did love his elephant. I mean, that counts for a lot, doesn't it?
Yes.
Oh, Hanno.
I mean, again, Medici bias here. I love Leo X. I think he's fascinating. I think he's going to be super, super fun to talk about. But again, I see him on worst lists and I'm like, oh, okay, for what? What did he do? Are you a Protestant writing this list? Otherwise, what's the problem here?
Well, we'll go to another of the worst ones then, Alexander.
Yeah.
So, do you think he's constantly on the worst lists, isn't he? Deserved?
Absolutely. I hate to say it because some people are still just dying for us to get there. But if you look at Alexander's papacy, he was a capable administrator. He was a talented politician. When we lay it all out, he was good at his job. And if we look at why he's on every scandal list, literally everyone around him did exactly the same things, right? We know he had children. Great. Pius II had children. Innocent VIII had children. Paul III had children. And even if they weren't openly acknowledged, everyone knew I mean, Clement VII was rumored to have even fathered Alessandro de' Medici with an enslaved woman. So, not likely, but rumored. Pope Julius II also had children and openly acknowledged his daughter Felice, and then just treated her worse. At least Alexander doted on his children.
I think that's what people hold against him, isn't it? I mean, this dote, particularly on Cesare, letting him get away with anything.
Yeah, absolutely. But is it so wrong? I mean, yes, we could
Is
talk
it wrong
about
to love your children?
Yeah.
If one of them is Cesare.
I feel like there's a joke about God forbid a present father show up in the narrative, but I'm probably not clever enough to make it here. Either way, like, yes, blinders, yes, enabling. People do that around their children. But again, the sexual scandals, he's considered decadent, but like 4 of the popes in this era were also accused of homosexuality, which was considered incredibly scandalous at the time. I could rattle off a list for you of sexually active popes that's much longer than that famous Wikipedia page. All popes lived this decadently, and let's be real. The Banquet of the Chestnuts is far from the first orgy inside the Papal Palace, or the Vatican, or the Lateran. Well, we've already covered 2.
Do you think it was Julius, who sort of bigged up the wickedness of Alexander?
Oh, totally. And for a number of reasons. This was a smokescreen, 100%. First of all, we have to point out that Della Rovere as cardinal and then Julius II as pope was so obsessive in his hatred of Alexander VI that it dominated his entire life. He was so obsessed with this man. He was #1 hater. When he becomes pope, he issues an damnatio memoriae on Alexander VI's name, and then still can't shut up about him. Talks about him nonstop. He said, everybody needs to stop talking about this man. Continues to talk about him. And he was, of course, not the only source of all of these detractist comments about Alexander. There were a lot of them, right? Factional families. We have that. We have everything. We have Savonarola speaking all sorts of hatred towards Alexander. We have, all of the Protestants. We have everybody condemning this. Julius was just like, yes, fuel my fire. He encouraged all of it to such a level because he also needed it to try and be done with Cesare, who was still everyone's problem. And because he was doing all of the same things and he didn't want anyone to look at him.
And was there an anti-Spanish bias in this as well?
Absolutely there was. I mean, Italian cardinals, the Italian church in general, is so xenophobic at this time, proudly xenophobic. They hate everybody who is not an Italian pope, and that never goes away. That's still a discussion was a discussion in 2025 when we were dealing with the conclave. So they hate anybody that comes in that's not from Italy. They particularly hate the Spanish. But
why?
it's one of those traditional rivalries. It's kind of shown in the whole thing where, like, syphilis, when it shows up, the Italians call it the Spanish disease. The Spanish call it the French disease. The French call it the Italian disease. They just had their traditional enemies. But what makes this a little bit more insidious, too, is it's not just that he's Spanish, right? It's the second implication of, by being Spanish, he might also be Jewish. He might also be Moorish.
Always the thought, yes.
Yeah. And then, of course, Alexander, again, another tick in his box of being a good pope, he is quite tolerant towards the Moors and the Jews and everyone else during his papacy. So he's just adding fuel to that fire.
So he's the victim of everyone throwing all their prejudices into one bucket.
Absolutely, yeah. Very much that, right? He represents everything that the Italian cardinals don't want. And by extension, of course, there's also the Colonna and the Orsini, and we have all of these divides. He is so outside all of that that he is the perfect target. And so Julius is there going, yes, feed the fire, because it's very convenient for him.
Do you think Alexander was voted in because of Granada and the whole sort of excitement of, we are the most Catholic monarchs?
I think almost in spite of that. Because
right.
I feel like that would have been very threatening to the Italian cardinals. I think where he comes in here is that he was neither allied with the Colonna or the Orsini, and he was sort of the tiebreaker to that tension and the intensity between that rivalry that was happening. So he was a way to say, we can compromise and we won't lean either way. I feel like what was going on in Spain with Catholicism would have been very scary for the Italian cardinals who want to maintain control.
All right.
Wow. So Alexander, he adores Juan until, he is murdered by everybody simultaneously, it seems. And then
Did you say you found 14
14 possible ones? Yeah. I'm sure I could come up with more now that I know more about the period, but
and then he adores Cesare, of course, and even though he ends up marrying her off to some pretty dangerous men, he does seem to adore Lucretia. And then there's Joffrey. What happened there?
I have some instincts about Joffrey. We know that Joffrey was mildly ignored by Alexander because Alexander can't say he questioned his legitimacy, because none of them are legitimate, but he didn't think Joffrey was his. And so there was already like sort of a distance of coolness from the beginning between them. But beyond that, I think Joffrey just wanted to live, right? I don't think he had any of his family's interest or ambition in politics or power. From jump, this poor little boy is dominated by every figure in his life. Right? He's even married at the age of 12 to a girl who is 16, but she's still got 4 years on him and quite a strong personality.
Quite a lot more experience.
In so many ways.
Yeah.
He's humiliated by everyone, right? Being like, you're not my son, by his father, to his brothers sleeping with his wife, to his wife sleeping with his brothers. He's not the force of nature that all of his brothers are. He's not somebody who is unfortunately constantly thrust into the spotlight by being a woman like Lucretia. He just kind of wants to live. And so he's passive. He goes with the flow. He tries to stay out of chaos. He's like, to me, the Osborne sibling who didn't do the whole Osborne's famous thing.
Oh, right.
We don't even know what their name is, right? Because they're the only ones who weren't on the show or whatever.
Well, Joffrey might be ambitious, but he might have a normal amount of ambition rather than the off the scale amount of ambition that the rest of his family have got.
Yeah, I'd like to rule a city, not the world.
Yes. I do like the fact that he ended up a prince, so he was actually higher than his siblings.
Well, and he did that by staying out of the chaos. It's just sort of letting things happen and not being the forces of nature that resulted in everybody else being murdered.
Yeah.
Maybe he's most cunning of them.
We always feel that he's lovely little Joffrey. He probably wasn't, but then just in comparison, it's
easy to be, I think.
Yeah.
We're always trying to find people we like. We know it's a fault. We know it's not proper historical distance. But you spend enough time swimming with these gits, and you start to think, oh no, this one was occasionally not awful. I think it's like when we got to Ferentino of Naples and went, oh well, I mean, he might have slaughtered this entire castle, but he wasn't actively psychopathic. He had a reason for it. So okay.
The bar is on the floor, yes.
So we're going to redo Alexander, because I didn't feel I did him justice before, because when we did him the first time around, we were sort of veering towards England all the time and seeing what links they had. We've given that up. it's just a free for all now. So what would you suggest we didn't leave out of Alexander? What do you think is the most important thing to remember to put in his next episode?
Ooh. I think that he really needs to be showcased as a statesman. Like it sounds very broad and vague, but really he has a tremendous impact on the world, good and bad, right? We have the Treaty of Tordesillas and what that means for the creation of the new world. But he was also like financially austere. He was focused on centralizing papal power. He also was excellent at playing like the Colonna and the Orsini against one another. This was a man who was actually very shrewd in what he does, and he doesn't get a lot of credit for that just because he is an idiot with his children, and he's a bit of a that's a perfect word. Lech. He's a creep. He's into a lot of creepy things. Also, I think the whole arc on Savonarola and Alexander is particularly interesting. But of course, Florence bias.
I'm sure we'll be doing a special episode on Savonarola at some point, but I think we've done so many Italians on the special episodes that the latest poll was literally like, I'm sorry, no one from Italy is on this poll.
Fair. We will definitely be doing a special episode on Savonarola. We're also going to be presenting on Savonarola for Intelligent Speech 2027. So
Nice.
There you go, Fry. Surprise!
Well, surprise. I didn't know our topic yet, and now I do.
Rebels.
So, Pope Pius III.
What a shift.
All of yes. All of what was it? 26 days?
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah. So 8th shortest papacy overall in history, if you can believe it. There are shorter ones.
Wow. Blimey.
Yeah.
Well, a month feels relatively long, honestly.
Yeah, we have had month-long popes for sure.
Well, I think as of the recording, though I'm sure not as of releasing, the latest Pontifacts episode is Pope-elect Celestine, who didn't even get to the end of his confirmation.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Fry's still mad because that was the second time I've been able to bamboozle her with a Pope-elect.
Bamboozling. I settle in for a story and then Brie just lies.
And I'm always so worried she's going to pick up on what's happening, and every time I manage to sneak it in there. But yeah.
So the general shape in this era that we spot, especially doing the Michelangelo special episodes, is every now and then they try a pious pope, appropriately enough, and they don't last long, and then they just go back to it.
Not in this era. This is not the era for popes who actually care about the church.
Do you think Pius would have gone downhill if he'd stayed pope longer? Do you think the power and the just the difficulty of running the papal states, do you think it would have turned him from being this nice benign character to being a Pope Sixtus?
I feel like he was not the sort of man of ambition that Sixtus was. So this was going to go one of two ways. I think, one, if he had stuck to his commitment, like, yes, we are going to fully reform the church, we're going to reform its finances, and that's the big piece, I think he would have been murdered. So there's that. There are too many people in power that would have really negatively affected. And so would he have had a chance to go downhill? Probably not. But for the sake of argument, let's say he lived, he doesn't die of illness, he's not murdered. I think if he continued to actually care about the integrity of the church, he would have gone a little bit more the way of Innocent, in that he would have been run roughshod over and just ended up being an ineffective disappointment, right? Mm-hmm. Men who care about the church in this time period really should not be pope.
Shouldn't be in the church.
Yeah. Exactly. And because we know that he was elected as a compromise candidate, he was meant to be a stopgap, a longer stopgap, but a stopgap. He would have been consumed with the conflicts that were causing the need for a stopgap anyways. He would have just drowned. So murdered or drowned.
Well, that's a happy thought.
Yes.
If he had carried on and he had actually continued to reform the church, would that have slowed Protestantism down? Do you think might have had an effect on that?
Ooh, maybe, because if it had actually worked, if he had actually successfully reformed everything, we wouldn't have had Leo X. And certainly we can lay like really the spark moment of the Reformation during Leo's papacy. Not necessarily because of him, but he was just sort of the Marie Antoinette of it all in that moment. So maybe we wouldn't have had a Leo X. The ball was already rolling, but I think it would have gone a lot slower and perhaps been a lot less Lutheresque, a lot less hellfire in it all. But then again, I think back and I think there are already people like Savonarola out there that are leading that charge. So maybe it would have just been gentler.
Because that's the difficulty, isn't it? One man's holiness, even if he is, supposed to be the most holy man on earth, can't stop so many invested interests in political things. I mean, it's not like there hadn't been proto-Protestants before, but there's a lot of other forces coming together at this point.
Absolutely. Fry and I just recorded an episode that includes the proto-Luther, Arnold of Brescia. So
that's what you said, and I was like, I hate that you had to call him someone entirely different's name.
So he was coming over there. He's been shouting at us for the whole of this course. Let's get there. Della Rovere has finally been made Pope Julius II, and I have to know this straight up. Did you really think he was the reincarnation of Julius Caesar?
I would like to posit a reframe of this to you. Maybe not the reincarnation of Julius
I can't
Caesar.
think the reincarnation's going to go down well with the Catholic Church, is it?
I think he thought of himself as the spiritual successor of Julius Caesar, much more than he thought of himself as the spiritual successor of St. Peter. And I really do believe that in as much as he was an Alexander hater, and that was so much of his life, the other side of his life was being an ancient Rome fanboy. Like, he would have been super into, like, this was his version of LARPing, first of all. Like, he absolutely chose his papal name, hearkening back not to Julius I Pope, the one who cemented the date of Christmas, by the way. He was like, I am going to be Julius Caesar Mach 2. And he was so into that idea, and it brought him so much joy. And we really do see him behaving in a way that represents that. Like, he definitely thought that the church needed a Julius Caesar, and very much behaved as if that was what he was going to do.
I like the fact that he was so much at loggerheads with Cesare Borgia, but they both adopted the same
Caesar,
the name from the same person.
I love that. I feel like that's also why he chose it, because again, he was so obsessed with Alexander and with Cesare, right? Seeing someone else have the moniker of Caesar and not him,
infuriating, wouldn't it?
It got under his skin every moment of the day, I'm sure.
So, I mean, I remember listening to your episodes on Gregory VII and thinking, I mean, obviously he's very kind of aggressive, not quite in the same way, but it's all about because I am Pope. So with Julius, is it because I am Pope, or is it because I am Julius?
Yeah. Julius, in so many ways, embodies specifically the shift in the papacy in this era, right? He clearly saw the papacy as a head of state first and a religious institution second. He cared more about the independence of the papal states than any sort of spiritual authority, but he'd use that latter as a useful tool or a weapon whenever he needed, right? He is invested in the idea of papal supremacy, right? We see that with the convocation of the Fifth Council of the Lateran. But even then, That was just more of a recognize me, I am the authority. The council itself is more about political peace and confirming, hey, listen to me, than about spiritual legitimacy. He wanted to use because I'm the Pope as a tool to be the absolute authority. But I think the absolute authority is the piece that mattered more. Whereas Gregory was like, I am the Pope. I am here representing God. I am here to do putting the church at the center of all of your lives. Julius is just like, I want to be the biggest, baddest man on this map, and I have both an army and God to do it.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? He's better than a general because, he's got the weapons,
Yeah.
but he can also say, all right, well, I've just excommunicated you. And so
Yep.
he's got the ultimate weapon on top of it all. So, I mean, it's no wonder Maximilian wanted to be Pope Emperor because you get the best of both worlds, don't you?
Exactly. You have all of the tools.
Mm. Mm. Do you think people, I mean, were they shocked that he was a warrior Pope? I
Well,
mean,
I
because
mean,
now we think Pope, nice,
passive and
pacifist.
gentle.
We think that, do we? We've all lived through enough.
Well, I'm talking about ideals here.
Yeah.
And then you've got this bloke who gets on a horse and waves his sword about.
Well, the thing about it is, it wasn't common, but it also wasn't as uncommon as you would expect, because we have had several popes who have led armies into battle prior to Julius, including Pope John X at the Battle of Garigliano in 915, and Pope Leo IX, who led a battle against the Normans, which unfortunately went very, very badly for him.
Terribly.
Yeah, so bad. He ends up being a prisoner for about 2 years. It's all awful. They have to carry him out of there, and then he immediately dies. Just not a good time. But the fact that we have had popes leading troops into battle has a precedent, at least. We also have had several popes, including another Gregory I, who has had to act as a military general to defend Rome. So I think this was a man who really liked precedent. And while it would have been shocking in its own time, he could have looked back and been like, well, hey, this has happened. This is something that popes have done, will do. Don't be surprised that I'm taking the strongest stance I possibly can.
And cardinals went to war, didn't they? I mean, they led
Absolutely.
armies. Yeah, because
Yeah.
we were just talking about Cardinal Shiner the other day about he was part of the Italian Wars. Mind you, who isn't part of the Italian Wars?
Well,
Everyone sucked in.
well, exactly. The church does absolutely become like it sort of vacillates in its militarism throughout the papal history. It always tries to get back to a place where it doesn't have to do that or where other people are doing it for them. But that's also one of the big shifts of, if we were talking about high Middle Ages popes versus Renaissance popes, is this is the era where they start to actually have their own armies and start to having their own ways of defending the papal states rather than having to call on the Holy Roman Emperor or call on the Normans, the Sicilians.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Well, exactly. It's not gone well for them for quite a while, but so them having their own armies starts to define this period of the papacy. So then Julius stepping into a role where he is now leading those armies is also just sort of like, oh, okay, they are a leader, just like any other leader at this point.
But do you think that he'd have lost his special kudos, that special popeness that made him completely different, or do you think he just dragged himself down to the level of all the other leaders?
Well, I think in this period, another thing that we can say is really sort of determinant of this time period is that the popes start to be treated just like every other leader. That's why we see the relationships shift between kingdoms and the papacy so often, and why they're able to be a little bit selective in what they listen to in regards to the Pope. I think they still, as a whole, had respect for the office as Pope, but they were also able to be like, oh, well, you're also de facto king of the Papal States. So I am going to deal with you in your king capacity right now and not your pope capacity. So I don't think he's the only one who suffers from this as a result. I think they all sort of have that going wrong for them in
so
terms of
when the other leaders seem to treat them with complete contempt. So he's treating the temporal leader with complete contempt, not the spiritual one.
Yeah, because we do see two sides to a lot of these relationships, right? There's still, when it is something where they need a level of moral legitimacy or they need a level of approval or they want to be seen like the coronation of a Holy Roman Emperor, the approval to have the Inquisition, the approval to go to the New World and claim territory. They're doing it on the basis of, we're going to convert Christian souls. They need that papal legitimacy. They are still trying to curry favor and still trying to get that from the Pope while still separating that from, like, you have an army and we have a practical problem over here. You are a physical person in front of me that is my obstacle. And in those moments, you kind of forget about your soul for a minute.
Mm.
But they still do value that and respect that role. They're just able to be a little bit more compartmentalized about it in those relationships.
It's amazing that they aren't thinking, if I go to war against this man, I'm going to war against God's representative on earth. I mean, it's a big step.
Yeah, well, they're looking at it and they're like, well, if I'm going to war with this man, I'm going to war with Giuliano. They're not thinking of him as, the Pope's representative. There's enough separation. And again, I think that a lot of seeing the Pope as a fallible human is really sort of characteristic at this point because of perhaps humanism, perhaps the development of science, the sort of shift in the way religion interacts with real life and pleasures and things like that. They start to see them as like, they're not just this figure holed away in the Lateran that no one sees. This is the diplomat that came to your table and got really drunk and burped and said, bless you all, right? Like they're dealing with this being an actual human being more than any other time period.
That's really interesting because I was wondering if, like, maybe the reason why we think of him as the warrior pope and then Alexander as, the scandalous pope, even though, as you say, there were many that were both and simultaneously in the past, this is the one that got a satire written about him by Erasmus. About him.
Yeah. These are the ones that people were seeing, right? Up until, the Renaissance, more than any other time, popes didn't really travel. Or if they were traveling, it's because they're fleeing Rome. It's not because they're aside from Pope Leo IX, who just went everywhere all of the time. It was unusual. He loved to walk. It was unusual to have a pope show up in your court or to have a pope come stay at your house. That's strange and unheard of because this is a very holy man. But now it's just some guy. It's just some guy and it's his retinue and he's eating the same food as you and you're overhearing his bodily ablutions and it just sort of demystifies the process.
And you can't go back from that, can you?
You can't.
So, we've looked at these figures who, whatever else you can say about them, they were special in their own ways. So you are, in our podcasting world, you are the papal experts, Fry and Bry. So let me just ask you a very small question. Just a tiny one. What makes a good pope? And do any of these gentlemen show these qualities?
Fry, why don't you start?
Well, what do I think makes a good pope? I think that they have to really care about the people, both the secular people and the congregation of the church themselves. I think that they should really try to uphold the values of the church, try to be less scandalous than, some of these popes are being. I think overall that They should really embody the love is the end all be all, sort of like number one rule, golden rule, love thy neighbor, love thyself. And that's where I stand.
I'm not recognizing that from any of these people.
Well,
Maybe Pius.
Yeah, I think we had that for 26 days, didn't we?
But that's only because he didn't have a chance to show us something different. I mean, usually when you have a pope who is hitting some of what Fry said about upholding the values of the church, you also have like let's condemn and persecute other types of people, which, you know, yeah.
But so that goes against the, be nice to everybody.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, in that stance, you have a good pope now, but not these guys. But
yeah, but he's not a temporal leader, is he? He can get away with just being nice.
Exactly. My answer is a little bit more of the classic historian answer, which is it depends on when we're talking about. Because I think what makes an excellent medieval pope, while there's some overlap to what would make a good Renaissance pope, they probably wouldn't have done super well. And both of those standards would horrify us today. So, I mean, if I'm looking at the Renaissance period and I say, what makes a good pope? Again, we've talked about how this is the era where diplomatic secular ruler becomes what a pope is. We're dealing with a practical leader. I think to make a good pope, you've got to be a shrewd diplomat that isn't hesitant about being strategic or making decisions, opting for advantageous alliances without becoming reliant. They also have to have a head for business, because this is also the era where the financial realities of the church become producing their own income, right? This is not a church of patrimony and Peter's pets. We're in business. I know you guys talked about the alum trade forever, so I don't have to go there. So strategic, shrewd diplomats, head for business, Paul III, Pius II, but of our bunch, maybe Alexander VI, Julius II, a little bit. In a major way, of course, what makes a good Renaissance pope for me has to be their contributions to what defines this whole age, which is the culture, the art, the architecture, and even in some cases, right, scientific development that emerges out of humanism and reviving study of classical knowledge, rather than just restricting the mysteries of understanding to just God, right? So on this front, we can acknowledge that a handful of Renaissance popes were very good at this, right? Julius, Leo, Sixtus, to name a few, Nicholas V, Paul III. And I could go on a whole rant about artistic and architectural patronage of popes as expressions of power, because that's the sort of thing I wrote my dissertation on. But this is not a Dan Carlin length podcast.
You haven't mentioned love thy neighbor at all in that.
No, because again, it depends on what era we're in. But if I'm looking at judging the Pope on what makes a good Renaissance Pope, I'm looking at the art. I'm looking at the buildings. I'm looking at how Rome changed, the physical imprint of Rome changed, and why it is the way it is now.
Yeah, saying we the stuff we can still look at.
That's why our categories don't include love.
Yeah, I mean, like, clearly I'm a fan. Yes. They're all here. So, like, this is where my passion is and what I can credit them for.
You know, I'm thinking, so you were saying, sort of shrewd diplomacy, being able to connect to people, very careful financial management, use of art as an expression of personal power. So I think our best bet for Pope in this era is Henry VII.
Well, I did actually want to talk about the Tudors for a minute in this, because you asked me in a note if they could have convinced anyone but Dracula to lead a crusade. And I have an answer for you, because I believe if the life of Henry VIII had gone a little bit different, this would have been your man. This absolutely would have been your man, because we know in early life that he was super duper zealous and he loved the praise, right? When Pope Leo X makes him the defender of the faith, he is all over that like a little bee. We also know that he is massively influenced by religious advice. So, if you'd had like a Julius II at the time that you had Henry VIII, you could have had a full Richard Lionheart moment here, I think.
Gosh.
I feel like he's the guy.
Yeah.
So it's Henry VIII and Dracula.
Yeah.
Now that's a buddy movie that I want to see.
Do you feel like they would kind of get along though? Don't you? Like it would fit. Or Henry would be so jealous of Vlad that he couldn't stand it. One or the other.
He couldn't have grown a mustache like that.
Yeah. And you know that the Prince of Wallachia had fabulous legs, and we know how Henry feels when someone has better legs than him. So.
One of the kind of counter-history, counterfactuals people really like is like what would have happened if Henry's son with Catherine of Aragon had lived. And I can't help feeling that, like, you know, with a secure succession and a thing in place, you can really see, you know, Wolsey going, yeah, you can go and do that. It's fine. I'll just shape this new prince. You go off and party with Vlad.
That would have been your guy for Crusade. I really think so.
By the time he got back, Wolsey would have been Pope. So...
I mean, entirely possible.
One last question then.
Oh, yes.
Uh-oh.
Why did none of them listen to Burchard?
Would you?
No, it drove me mad.
I have a soft spot for Burchard, but he is the most inflexible, stodgy man. And I think he wasn't important enough for them to pay attention to, honestly. He wanted to be, but the one thing we can get from his own records really is that he's not the right man for the job. He was an excellent executor when it came to events, but realpolitik would have broken this man, right?
Yeah.
He was probably a nightmare to be around. I really think he fundamentally misunderstood his own time period. He was not prepared to set new standards, which was what this era was all about.
No, you had to follow the rules, the precedents.
Absolutely. And as somebody who works very like heavily in neurodivergence and disability, like he does sort of feel like somebody who had a very specific, almost neurodivergent way of thinking about things. And I feel like that would, you know, and that is purely speculation. It's hard to ever lay that kind of thing down, but he had a very like autistic sort of spectrum way of thinking about things, and that would have made it very difficult for anybody to get him to flex and bend. And I think that would have really challenged him if he were in sort of an advisory capacity.
Oh, it'd be right out of his comfort zone.
So much so. I think he is where he needed to be, and if he had understood his time period, he also could have been the architect of all of that. But he couldn't be. He would have fallen apart. He would have been so uncomfortable and so miserable that it's probably better that nobody listened to him in that way.
Oh, to be able to understand one's own time period. Now that's the dream.
Give him to Gregory VII, and they would have been so comfortable with each other. It would have been perfect. But no. He had to deal with Alexander instead.
Yeah, I mean, he picked the wrong one there, didn't he?
Exactly.
Now, if you're going to make the emperor walk barefoot through the snow, he has to come this way and kneel at this point.
We said he had to be alone. That means you guard, you must leave. They would have gotten along very well in terms of having the same sort of structure for thinking about things and being vehement and passionate and not flexible, and a little bit stodgy,
but lovable.
Oh,
yeah. I really like. I feel really bad for him. I feel like in the right space he would have absolutely flourished, but this was not it. This was not the court for him.
No. Poor man.
Well, I mean, you could clearly talk about these for many, many more hours, and of course you will on your own podcast. But you know, we've suggested a few things, but I'm sure we've missed out some things that you absolutely think we must know about these popes or this era. So, do you have anything you want to?
Must know. Must know. I mean, you know about Hanno. Hanno, I think, is my favorite papal tidbit of this time period. I know you discussed the whole.
He's going to have his own special episode next season.
Yeah.
Of course. He's wonderful. I love him.
Gotta.
I'm going to throw some words out for Fry that are going to be a little bit shocking, but you did talk about the whole breast milk blood transfusion nightmare already. So there's that. What do you need to know? Sixtus is guilty of the Posse conspiracy.
Yes,
and...
we did a whole. Sorry, I say we. They did a whole special episode on that.
and really, the Medici are undercredited as the rising stars of this whole era. No, that's my bias. I think you've been very thorough. I really am impressed with the level of research and detail that you've gone into with all these popes, and it has led to a very, very rousing discussion.
Yeah, it certainly has. Yes, I mean, there's certain things that I should be thinking about when I redo Julius.
You're going to redo Julius after Alexander? 6.5 hours?
Not Julius, the other one, Alexander.
Okay. Yes.
Sorry, Alexander. That was oh dear.
I mean, I do think that we're in a perfect time period for a rehabilitatory look at Alexander VI. So I'm glad that you and we're all going to put that out there.
Yeah.
And let everybody know he was actually not too bad at his job.
Yeah, I mean, when we first did it, I don't know, it was about an hour and a half, which is not long enough for Pope Alexander. You're just skimming the surface there.
Yeah.
It's going to be a long one.
This is going to be a challenging era for me because how do I tamper all this down?
Well, you don't, as long as you're willing for each pope to take 2 months worth of episodes. That's just.
I mean, we had a couple popes that took a little while.
Yeah, we're going to leave that in the dust.
Oh, this has been absolutely brilliant. I mean, thank you so much for coming on and sharing the even in the worst things, the joy of finding out, it's just
Yeah, it is both a absolutely wonderful and fascinating and inspiring time period, and it's also abjectly horrible. So there's so much to talk about.
And one of the things we've said in the past is, why are the popes always the baddies? Because whatever circumstances you come up against, the popes seem to be behaving far worse than everybody else. And when you've got other people like Ferrante of Naples and Ferdinand of Aragon and Cesare, you think, well, that's quite an achievement.
It really is. They've learned how to fit in and then take it to the next step because you're the Pope. You got to be on top somewhere.
Yes. I think that's a very good place to end.
The true heirs to St. Peter, who, as I think you both established quite early on, was a bit of a git.
Yes. Accurate.
Oh, there'll be letters.
Well, thank you so much for having us.
Thank you very much for coming. This is a new thing for us, having other people. It's really good. We should do this more often.
Yes.
Well, I'll be back when you talk about the Medici popes, because there are a couple.
Oh,
Yep.
yes.
Yeah, we've got the next batch. Mind you, the next season is going to be a long one.
Yeah.
The longest.
I
Elizabeth
know Elizabeth is going to give it a
True. Yeah.
Just as how Henry VII has had all the people who kind of lead up to his reign, Elizabeth's going to have not only her very long reign, but all the people who spill over the end.
Yeah.
are going to.
Yeah. It's going to take the rest of your lives, I think.
Pretty much.
Well, easily the rest of mine.
Oh.
Oh, no.
Well, I mean, if it's taken, we're doing 6.5 years on Henry VII, at least twice that on Henry VIII, probably 3 times that on Elizabeth, plus Mary and Edward, and a bit on Jane. It's a long haul, isn't it?
It is. It is. Even I can admit Edward doesn't deserve quite that long.
And yet we will find lots of people to talk about.
Absolutely.
I think for those two, the backstage discussions have been, well, we've got to put anyone who really could be in those eras into those series, otherwise they become embarrassingly short. Anyway, we're just doing backstage chat now, so we should probably thank you also to our listeners for listening, and go and listen to Pontifacts. You have got a great amount to listen to, and it's all brilliant.
Oh, well, thank you.
And see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.